welcome to the Comics Fu Show.
I'm your co-host, Patrick Lugo, and with me is co-host Curtis Fujita.
As a kid, I loved Kung Fu movies, so I went to Chinatown, trained with a wise teacher, and became a Kung Fu master. Sounds simple, right? Not really. My journey, like the study of Kung Fu, was as arduous as it was rewarding, filled with as many secrets as revelations and as much heartache as triumph. It's a defining moment in my life, and while I began studying Kung Fu to learn how to fight, what I discovered was a way to live. Martial arts never came easy to me. I was far from talented, and even farther from being the chosen one. It was only through years of tenacious perseverance that I was able to make steady progress. And so, I was surprised when my master told me that I should teach Kung Fu and share the art outside of Chinatown. I did just that and taught Kung Fu to my own students for 20 years. I always wanted to do more to share the art of Kung Fu with others, but was limited by only being able to teach those within my immediate area. What about the rest of the world? Then one day, I had one of the deepest insights about Kung Fu. I realized that the punches, kicks, throws, and myriad of martial maneuvers are merely the delivery system for the true essence of Kung Fu, the philosophy and way of life. Having worked for years as a professional artist and storyteller in film, animation, video games, and comic books, I realized that I could draw upon this unique skill set to share my passion for Kung Fu with the greater world. And so I created Shadow Ghost, a Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. The first issue is created entirely by myself, from story and art to colors and lettering. Every panel is filled with unprecedented accuracy in its depiction of Kung Fu by a comic book creator who knows from first-hand experience what it means to be a Kung Fu master. Shadow Ghost is a martial arts coming-of-age story about a young man whose search for the truth about a legendary hero leads him to study Kung Fu, and through a twist of fate becomes part of the legend himself. For the first time in comic book history, you can immerse yourself further in each issue with Kung Fu skills technology, powered by Tiger Crane Kung Fu. Scan the QR code at the back of the comic and follow an exclusive link to an online instructional video where I teach you Kung Fu techniques featured in this series. With Kung Fu skills technology, you can do more than just read about the Shadow Ghost saga. You can become a part of it. The first issue is completely finished and ready for print. All that's needed is for you to make a pledge of support so that we can fund the printing of the first issue. Together, we can share the wisdom of Kung Fu with the greater world. Shadow Ghost is the story of Kung Fu. It's about the people, the art, the culture, and the philosophy. It's my story and the story of those that I've learned from, taught, fought, and loved. Join me and become part of the vibrant legacy in a place and time where we might not be the chosen one, but where we can make a choice to be part of something bigger and greater than just ourselves. I'm Sifu Curtis Fujita, and this is Shadow Ghost, the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master.
Hi, I'm Plugo, author, illustrator, comic creator, and the art director for Kung Fu magazine for more than 20 years. But I'm here to talk to you about a project that's really special to me. It's the middle grade graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale. Imagine this story of tigers and dragons and martial artists and monsters. So when I launched the campaign for A Tiger's Tale Volume 1, I did not know what to expect. But it succeeded thanks to a group of passionate backers. It was also awarded the Make More Comics art grant that year. and was later featured as part of an art gallery exhibit. And that's why I'm coming to Kickstarter, to cover production fees, printing, copy editing, things like that. Books completed, with the exception of a few pages I've set aside for color over the course of the campaign. This turned out to be a popular feature of Volume 1's campaign, so I thought I'd bring it back for Volume 2. I think it's going to be great fun for everyone. Hope you'll support the campaign. I'm very excited about it. Thanks for stopping by.
Hello, welcome to the Comics Fu Show,
where we stand at the crossroads between comics, kung fu, and all sorts of pop culture. Curtis, I've been thinking of changing that to the intersection. I don't know. We'll have to workshop that a bit. But I'm really excited to get to our guests. But before then, why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. So I'm Curtis Fujita. I'm a Kung Fu instructor and a comic book creator. Currently, I have a Kung Fu comic book project on Kickstarter that's live now. It's called Shadow Ghost. It's the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. So check that out. And without further ado, let me go ahead and pass the mic over to my co-host, Patrick Lugo. Patrick, go ahead.
Also known as Plugo online. My graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale, is currently on Kickstarter. We have Volume 1 and Volume 2 available for backers who decide to join the campaign. Very excited to meet our goal of just finding 100 other backers. We're so close. I mean, we're looking for 100 backers. We're very close to it. We're at 70. So, and with 14 days to go, I think we'll be there.
I agree completely. And why don't you tell the folks about our guest? You're very cool guest.
I'm excited. Okay, so this, once again, Curtis, you know how I love to keep track of local Bay Area talent. And so I want to tell you this San Francisco-based African-American illustrator is also an author and the creative director of Conscious Culture Publishing.
Excellent.
But before he got there, right, he studied at Long Beach University, graduating from the Academy of Art College in San Francisco. Excellent illustrator. But then, come 2017, he founded his publication company. And really, I should let the man himself tell us this story. So please welcome Marlon McKenney.
Welcome to the
show. Hey, thanks a lot.
Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Happy to have you.
Very glad that you're here. Like I said, I reached out to you a while back because I caught you on Instagram. You were doing like an Instagram live chat, and you casually mentioned some of your physical fitness routine and the significance of it. And I just, as soon as I heard you say those two words, I had to reach out and be like, oh man, can we talk? And it took a little bit of time, but we finally did it.
Yep. No, that's great. Just to let everybody know, hi, my name is Marlon McKenney. I'm from San Francisco, California, and I am a publisher, illustrator, and an author, and a creative director. And I started a publishing company called Conscious Culture Publishing. And basically, we specialize in African historical fiction. So this is one of the books here. I know it's probably flipped, but Makita, the Queen of Sheba. We've also got The Genius of Egypt, which is my second book, as well as this beauty right here, Uptown Dragon, about a little boy and his dragon. But yeah, I've been doing this for probably the past 6 years. And not only is what I'm doing unique, just in terms of what I do is focus on African historical fiction, showing, old African style illustrations that you're not really taught in school, but at the same time also do them in 3D. So this isn't just what you'd usually see when someone, which I started, pen and pencil or flat 2D. All of these are modeled in complete 3D, right? Patrick, feel free to jump in if you have any questions or
I want to share like just an example.
Boom.
I've been looking at this since you sent this to me. I just have been admiring it. So I just wanted to share it here. So that I think Curtis might be seeing this for the first time.
Actually, I was looking at a little bit of it before, but I love it. I love what I love about it is it is 3D, but there's a classical composition, like a fine artist. Because actually, Marlon, I went to the Academy of Art as well.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah. But a lot of people either get one side or the other. They get the digital part, the technical part, or the actual artistry composition. But what I noticed is you have this beautiful painterly kind of composition and colors, and just it's really insightful, really nice stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. And honestly, that's how I started, right? Traditional. Just to take a step back, when I've been drawing all my entire life. When I was a kid, I had asthma. So when I'm trying to run it around, I'd get sick and stuff like that. So I spent a lot of time at home, by myself. And that's when I would just draw, and I would draw. That ended up being my superpower, right? I was always the kid that is in high school in the back of the class drawing. And after I started going to art school, that's when I started actually drawing things that I'm not accustomed to drawing. You guys know too, when it gets to a certain point where, you're learning new things, it's like, okay, not only am I drawing people, but I'm drawing robots and ships and interiors and exteriors. But that built my illustration skills so much better. Like you were just talking about, Curtis, a few seconds ago, how you like the painterly style. That's because, sorry,
1 second, Marlon.
No, it's fine. Oil painting, painting in acrylic, looking at a lot of traditional American illustrators, even people like Frank Frazetta. That's like one of my big fan of Frazetta, Leyendecker. Quite a few just old school painter. So I still have that background, but when I graduated, there's no jobs out there like really doing painterly stuff because I had tons of student loans I had to pay back, right? I'm sure people know about that. Yep. And it's like I gotta start making some money. So I'm gonna age myself. But when I graduated, it was when the .coms were starting to erupt. Well, websites. It was still relatively new. I'm talking late 90s or like mid 90s. And so my first job was actually working at this place called City Search. I mean, this is like old school, but it was like an online magazine. But that's when I'd been working in computers before then, but that's when I started actually doing digital art. And I honestly, I started from the very bottom. I was just a production artist scanning images and giving them to designers. And then later on, I started learning Flash. I don't know if you guys remember Flash, the animation program. I was doing that for like 10 years. I mean, that's what really, I've really found my love for storytelling because I was able to draw an image, scan it, and then take it and start, manipulating it and animating it with, at the time, Macromedia Flash, but now it's actually Adobe Flash.
Now it's not even, it's just what, Adobe Animate or
exactly.
But I mean those experiences are valuable, right? Because it forces you to start thinking differently. You're not just creating a static image. You're considering timing, right? And you're considering movement, and I mean that's just like half a step away from what everyone's doing when they're trying to do a comic book page or trying to do a fight scene. Or something, where there's that the time and the space. So
definitely, I think we must have been there at the same time because I was around Academy of Art like 95 to 99 or so.
Oh, yeah.
So we were on the tape. They're probably crossed past each other.
Absolutely. I mean, this is random, but since you just say that, did you ever go to the drawing workshops?
Yeah. Like Friday nights usually.
Yeah. Was it? Remember Lee? Do you remember Lee who used to host it?
Yeah.
Lee Ballard.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And him, we actually graduated around the same time, but he was still working there. But he's still a close friend of mine, and he's still doing illustration. That's like a total sidebar there.
That was a unique time, right? Because I remember when I went in, they were telling us, "Don't worry about learning any CG. Just learn how to draw." and really good. And then by the time I graduated, the shift happened, and I was like, "Yeah, I can draw." And everybody's like, "Well, what computer programs do you know?" So it was a very interesting time, right? To be able to be there for that transition technologically, I would imagine for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting thing because they harped on people who use computers at that time. It was like you had to do everything, by hand. You're really looked upon kind of down if you use the computer. And I remember there was around the time when Pixar first came out with Toy Story. Yeah. And I'm not gonna put her on blast, but I think the director of the illustration department at that time were like saying, "Oh, this is just a fad. This 3D stuff's a fad. It's gonna go away." You know what I mean?
Well, here's my chance. I've told Curtis this story before, but I'll share it with you because I had a similar experience. But we're talking. When I was going to art school, they were still teaching us how to do. It was called advertising, art, and design at the time, and the Mac 1 was just invented on our first year of school. So by the second year of school, we're like, we have to learn these things. No teacher wanted it. They're like, no, you're going to retouch using an airbrush. You're going to spec type using math. I had to learn how to use one of those gigantic typesetting machines with the cranks and where the font was actually a roll of film with each letter in it.
Wow. That's awesome.
We conspired. And so here that once again, the DIY, I always want to come back to the DIY aspect of things because I ended up popularity contest. Who knew, right? But I was student government vice president. One of my classmates was the editor for the yearbook. The other one was the editor of the newspaper. And so we conspired to have the student government actually buy us Macintosh computers.
Nice.
So that our school newspaper was doing desktop publishing before they were even teaching it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one unfortunate thing about, I guess, education, because technology moves faster than what they're teaching. So sometimes you have to keep your eye on both. So people out there, if any art students, anyone going to school out there, yes, learn from your teachers and all that stuff, but you got to keep one hand in the street and kind of know what's going on outside of school in, whether it's blogs or websites and YouTube tutorials and just looking at other art in general, other publishers and arts all over the place, because you need that perspective, because once you're out of school, you're back, you're in the job market and they want to see what's hot right now, not what they don't care about what they taught you in school. It's like, what can you give me right now that's cool and relevant today, right?
Totally. And I was kind of reading a little bit about your career, and it seems like you kind of went into interesting way. You got into creative directing, and was it marketing and kind of that sector that must have really informed your decision to get to where you are now, where you have your own thing and you're branching out. What was that experience like? Because that's a whole different skill set than just physically being able to draw or convey imagery.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it started with just graphic design. So from illustration more to graphic design, which actually I think is easier, right? So websites, I started designing websites, and then you start designing websites, you start doing these banners, banner ads. I was doing landing pages back when they were really a thing. I guess they still are. But something interesting happened, and that was around the time the iPhone first came out, right? And they stopped supporting the Flash player because I was doing these elaborate animations in Flash. And I started to see that the new technology, like the iPhones and the iPads, they're not supporting Flash. So I knew in the back of my mind, you got to see the writing on the wall, that it's not going to go, it's going to eventually be phased out. So that's when I switched gears to After Effects, because I still like storytelling. I still like, people know, like timeline animation, just like you see the timeline there and animate. That's something I still love to do. So I kind of switched to After Effects. And from there, I'm doing a lot of video. So just to take a step back and kind of answer what you said, Curtis, doing designs is one thing, but when you get into commercial art and advertising, you also have to think about like strategy, target demographic. You have to think about clients and how to pitch your idea. And when you throw something, when you're designing something, you know, having to explain your design ideas. Oh, I have this at this place because of this, or I use this type because of that. And that's what allowed me to kind of flourish in advertising, is because I kind of had to like take my heart off my sleeve and say like, okay, this is client, this is their work. It's not my work. I can make it look good, but this is their stuff. So I can guide them about how to make it better, but I can't exactly force them to do what they probably need to be done so that I can get a paycheck and live. So it's after years and years of knowing the best solution for design, creative problems, and giving them to these multi-billion-dollar companies, my thought is, hey, what am I doing for my community? You know what I mean? What am I doing for the African-American community? What am I doing that's going to actually have some type of impact on some real lives instead of just lining up shareholders with tons of money in their pocket? And that's when I made the segue to conscious culture publishing, where I started 6 years ago. And I thought, hey, I'm great at this like marketing thing. I still love storytelling. And then I also have this penchant for African or Black culture, and mixing that all together. And I mean, it's been really cathartic. It's been a great experience. And I've just been cranking out like so much great work that if I didn't start this company, I would not have not only done, but also impacting kids out there who are buying this these books right now.
That's excellent. No, we were talking the other day, Patrick and I, with another artist, and we were talking about the idea of like you kind of become the ambassador for your culture, whether you know it or not, you know, and not just the people within your community, but even outside, you know. And it's great, you know. I think creatively you come to that moment where you go, okay, I can't get people to bet on me. I got to bet on myself, right? I mean,
yes.
We would all have somebody come in and say, I love your idea. Here's a bunch of money, no strings attached. Go at it. You know, I'm still looking for that. But in the meantime, but you know, but here you are, you're leveraging all your skill set, all your experience to say something important, something that's your story and that's important to you. And that's not easy, right? I mean, that's a big leap of faith, and that's awesome. That's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have so many stories in my head, and it's one of those times where you just got to get it out. You know, like the worst thing that can happen is eventually we're all going to pass away, right? And you don't want to be sitting there on your deathbed talking that woulda, coulda, shoulda stuff. I should have did this. I should have did that. I had this idea for that. It's like, hey, you know, YOLO, you only live once. You know, I mean, unless you wanted. Some people believe in reincarnation, but still, you still want to achieve to a higher level, so you don't have to exactly come back to Earth. I mean, if we're talking like Buddhism or whatever, but essentially, you want to rise higher than your own condition and do something more noble, a little bit more spiritual, and something to keep your fire burning. In my opinion,
definitely, it's like, you know, I worked on a film project with Eddie Griffin, you know, the comedian.
Oh yeah.
And he, you know, it's always funny. Like they always say the court jester is the one that's actually telling the truth and the smartest person. And dude was real deep. And I remember one time he said something to me that always stuck. He was talking about art, and he said, if you're an artist and you have the skill of art, he says you have the duty upon you, the responsibility to put that out into the world. He goes, the only reason you're an artist is you want to take what's in here, put it out there. You have to share it. Right?
Yes.
Because it looks perfect in my mind. I can see the comic book, I can see the movie fine. The only reason I'm an artist or a creator is because I have the responsibility to take what's in here, and I have to spend decades getting the skill so that you can see what's in here. And it does no good if it's in here, right? Yeah. Right. And it's such a huge responsibility. And Patrick and I know how hard the creative thing is, and the business, forget about it. And I can only imagine how many nights up late stressing over this, you know, it's a struggle, you know? Yeah.
I mean, and with that being said, it's good stress.
Oh, yeah.
And I will say this, like to any creator that's listening to this, it's also about little tiny steps. So coming home, putting an hour here, a couple hours there, you know what I mean? And building that consistency. that's usually people's hardest part of them completing a project is the consistency. I mean, on the weekends, I'll put in some hours here, put in 8 hours here, or 6 blocks of time, 3 and 4. But what I try to do is like chip away at it every single day, just a little stuff, because as you guys know, as a business owner, it's not only just the creation process. I wish like if all I had to do is make these things, you know what I mean? Create the ideas and stuff. Oh, that'd be perfect. But you got to think about the marketing. You got to thinking about even just like the layout, uploading all the design files, making sure the meta tags and, did I say marketing already? Yeah. Like all that stuff, and then looking at the numbers. I mean, it can be a lot. And with that being said, I have been trying to partner with more people that have a similar aim, because I think there's an expression that says you can go faster by yourself, but further with people, with the group, right? So it's what I really am doing moving forward is just trying to find alliances with people who are doing the same thing. And that way I don't have to do everything, but I'm still doing everything.
You're not doing everything alone. You're doing it with others.
But I was like, people say, just do what you love. You'll never work a day in your life. And it's like, no, it's still work. I mean, I love what I'm doing, but it's work.
Yeah. The addendum is do what you love and you'll work every day of your life.
But at least you'll work with a smile on your face, feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'll say this, I've done like client pitches or come up with some like creative worked hard on it, go to a pitch, be like, here's a design. The client's like, I love it. Oh, this is great. You know what I mean? I felt better selling a book to a young boy. He was like, oh my God, he looks like me. You know what I'm saying? That gives me way more fulfillment than, a group of people who are nice people. But, obviously at some point we're all privileged because we do have money. It's not like I'm homeless on the street. I can get real. But, this young child, like seeing work and seeing a story about them, putting themselves in that story, making it feel like they are the hero inside the story and that they matter and that they're important. I mean, that's what I live for. I mean, that's what, brings a little tear to my like, oh, this is beautiful. You know what I mean? Just makes me all mushy inside when I see kids that like my work. And with that being said, I see right now you have the graphic on here, The Genius of Egypt 2. This is the book that I'm currently working on right now. It'll be out probably like around summer-ish. Nice. But this type of book is definitely going to have, it already has, because I'm working on it right now, a lot more action. Like I wanted to add more action scenes within this book. And I'll also try to keep it very highly conceptual, just to take a step back for any of the readers probably or listeners who are looking at this right now. So The Genius of Egypt is about Imhotep, one of the world's first multidisciplinary geniuses. And people talk about their spirit animal, or I'd say the person you would think of, or the energy type of person, aura, that I wanted Imhotep to have was actually Kwai Chang Caine from Kung Fu. Because he's a priest. He's a priest, supposed to be really smart, but at the same time, he can also defend himself. But I really like that peaceful, like a peaceful priest, you know what I mean? Really smart, saying a lot of prophetic things and helping people solve problems or issues, but at the same time can handle himself. So that's kind of how I pattern Imhotep. And in this particular book, not spoiler alert, but some assassins are sent to kill him, and he's got to work through that while at the same time he's in the middle of actually building the first pyramid. So if you guys didn't know, Imhotep is actually a real person back in history. So Imhotep built the first pyramid, which is the step pyramid of Saqqara. You guys can Google it. He was the architect and the creator of the pyramid, along with thousands of other people helping out as well. But he was the architect of that pyramid. So the story is about not only how they created the pyramid back in the day, and we're talking about the step pyramid, not the pyramid of Cheops, but how they physically did it. I did some research, but then I also wanted to make it fun and exciting. And then I threw some assassins in there while he's making it. So it's just maximum impact. But yeah, definitely when this comes out, you should definitely pick this up. The Genius of Egypt 2, Rise of the Pyramid.
That's great. And you know what I love is that you're going back. It's important to tell stories about us, where we come from, but it's important to go back and tell the stories from before, because, like they say, history is written by the victors, right? And there is a lot of lost history. And it's so important for people of all ethnicities and backgrounds, but it's important that you know your story, where you come from, because I mean, it's a shame. Everybody should be able to take pride in where they come from. And we're not talking about just 20 years ago. We're talking centuries ago. And you can't rely on anybody to tell that. And, not everybody knows to even look for it. So the fact that you're going back and using your skill set so that people learn about this, because at the end of the day, it's all our history, right? We all come from,
exactly.
That's massive. That's massive. I think that's such an important message,
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Oh, well, one thing, because Curtis has me thinking, like we were talking about the DIY aesthetic and, going from marketing to now self-publishing, right? So you've got two components, but you're also adding a third layer, which is like the cultural relevance, and the fact that like maybe there are things that are easier to sell. Maybe there's an easier model for profitability, but you're going for something that's more than that, right? You're giving back to your community. You're building a specific historical context for the creativity that you're expressing. So I'm hoping you can, share a little more about that, because that's something that I think is so valuable beyond just the profitability of a publishing company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to be frank, we've all, maybe I should ask that question. I can't assume, but we all grew up in America, right? And when you're as an African-American boy or kid growing up, when you open up a history book, it starts off with slavery. Like that's immediately where it starts off. So it kind of has your mind in a weird space, because you think of other type of ethnicities and they have like a history, but we don't learn about ours. They don't put it in the book, just because the whole legacy of America and slavery and all this stuff, it was like they try to erase, because to enslave someone, you have to erase their history, you know what I'm saying? And turn them into savages, right? So I grew up not learning that stuff. And so it wasn't until like late 80s, there was a lot of, conscious hip hop that was going out. There's groups like KRS-One and Brand Nubian and X-Clan, like all of these, Public Enemy. There's one as well that started to explain and more about not only just Black history, but African history. And so from there, when I went to Long Beach State, that's when I actually started having classes about African history and started learning all these like crazy stories. Like, oh my God, we've got the Moorish Empire and we've got Timbuktu and we've got Kemet and all these different things. And you won't learn it unless you take it in a college course. And so these influences of culture were really resonated in my mind so much that, even through years and years, it got to a certain point. It's like, you know what? I need to show these visually to young kids so that they can visually see what that must have been look like and understand, no, you're not a descendant from slaves. You're a descendant from kings and queens. Yes, that colonial history did happen, one blip in history. But if you look at hundreds of years, thousands of years, Africans have done really well when you're talking about pre-colonial history. And I think it's important that kids, really know that stuff. If you think about it, America's not that old, When you think of old civilizations like Japan, I mean, United States is a baby,
we were talking to artist Leo Quiles, and he's a big hip hop fan like I am, and we were talking about, I'm half Asian guy from the burbs, and it's like, how did I learn about Huey P. Newton, Angela Davis, Marcus Garvey? Through hip hop, right? And so it's not even just a matter of sending the message out for your own community. You have no idea who you're going to educate outside of that community and who will fall in love with that aspect. And you're the ambassador for that, and you never know how that's going to inform how they interact with people. Maybe they never met somebody, of that. But everybody needs that point of reference. And if you leave your point of reference to somebody else to tell you where that point of reference starts, they determine your fate. They determine the outcome from the get. So the fact that you're supplying that, is so important and tremendous. And your work looks great. I mean, I hate to say, but sometimes people go, I'm writing my own book. Like, oh, that's amazing. And you see it, and it's like crayon drawing, and like, oh, you did it. you did it, But I mean, yours can stand shoulder to shoulder with anything out there by any of the major publishers. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, thank you. And that was my intention. And that's one good thing about just kind of working in the industry a while. You get to see like the highest quality of certain things, so you see what you're reaching for. I would advise anyone listening to this podcast right now to get training, whatever it is, whether we're talking about illustration or we're talking about martial arts. It's like you need training. You need people that have been there, the people that know, that have experience, and they will help you get to the next level. And just after just so many years of kind of putting together this artwork on such a, I'll just say high level, because the clients are paying a lot of money for it, then I want to put that same level for my community. So instead of having some like janky stuff, out there, I wanted to have a high level quality of African historical fiction, because if you don't, a lot of times with kids, if they don't see it, they can't imagine it. I need to just put it in their face. Okay, this is what an African dynasty would look like. And when you think of, like, for example, this right here is a illustration of Queen of Sheba. And Sheba is basically in Ethiopia. If you say Ethiopia nowadays, you might think of famine, right? But you put it in this context, it kind of changed the perception of the way kids are thinking about a certain area or certain culture. And that's what I would do. And also just focusing on positive, not negative. There's a lot of times when you're doing this type of work to this type of community, you can kind of get kind of angry and like focus on more of the negative. One thing about my company, Conscious Culture Publishing, I want to focus on positive things. Just for all consideration, when I started Conscious Culture, it was during the time where it was the run up to the election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton around that time. And it was just so negative. Like everything was just so negative, and just the back and forth is like this. I mean, this is horrible. It's like, this is so bad. It's so toxic. People do not need this. We need to focus on like something positive. It's not what you say, it's about how you can say it. We can still have difficult conversations to communicate with one another, to work through our differences, but at least let's just be intelligent. Let's be respectful. Let's be cordial. I mean, and that's the way I like to run my business.
Well, Patrick and I talk about that too. It's like kind of raising the bar as far as discourse,
Yeah.
And I have to point this out. Would you mind popping that back in, Patrick? Because it's just, I want to just point out to the viewers artistically this is only scratching the surface of what he's doing here, but just beautiful composition, beautiful color scheme. I love the rhythm in it. You can see the line decker and all those influences, but if you look at if you kind of squint your eyes and you just look at the pockets of color, how he leads your eye through it, right? You have this nice rhythm of the red, from the top going down to the bottom three, kind of encase it, and then the green, the accent of the green forming that other triangle. And it's kind of subtle, but there's that teal behind the queen, and then the vegetables or the fruit on the bottom. It's those kind of things that give it this sense of harmony that really elevates it from just being a straight rendering. And that's very, very thoughtful stuff. I mean, that doesn't happen at that level on accident. So, my hat's off to you, because that's excellent. I mean, just very well done. Beautiful.
I mean, we could keep going, right? Like you look at the blue of the sky and how it's connecting her, right? It gives her like that divine inspiration, where the other characters are surrounded by white, but she's connected to the spirit, it just, and then the whole Z design of it, and then like the little bit of like, no, is that basket gonna fall over? It's just a little hint of like this isn't a static thing, that this is a moment in time, so like masterful work on display here.
Beautiful.
No, thank you. And I give props where it deserves. I mean, I looked at a lot of Renaissance work, I mean, when I went to Paris, I was in the Louvre a couple days,
Nice.
like taking pictures, all those great works, you know. So I draw inspiration from everything. But I'll say, yeah, a lot of the Renaissance work was also inspired, as well as oh my God, I can't remember Deutsch a lot. It's called like Orientalist work.
Yeah.
A lot of that work as well. I can't think of some of the artists off top of my head,
Sure.
but that genre, the Renaissance work and the Orientalist type work, yeah, absolutely what influenced me when I was putting together this particular book.
Totally. It kind of catches that Aubrey Beardsley vibe, you know. I think
Mhm.
there's a little bit of an echo. I think there we go.
Yeah, I think some song playing somewhere.
Well, I mean, also I don't know. Am I just reading into it? But is there like like we think of Renaissance art, right? And that's the European Renaissance,
Yeah.
right? But you're kind of taking that aesthetic and then you're kind of flipping it around a little bit to bring, to kind of reframe what people think of as this is African history. But
yeah. Exactly. Because at the end of the day, at least I'm always trying to create something that's like visually appealing, something that looks I'm not even close, but like a master's work. That's where I'm headed. You know what I mean? I can only just keep trying. You know what I mean? Getting closer to that, and just the quality that I would like to expose African American and people of color and other like everyone, but specifically African Americans seeing themselves in that light, because we rarely see it. Like, for an example, if we just look at think of how many Marvel movies have come out, right? So we have Black Panther, right, who's been doing extraordinarily well, right? But how many other studios are doing any other type of movies like that, where we have a main character, African American hero, superhero, basically doing what he needs to do to, I don't know, live, uplift, and do his thing.
Make the world a better place, right?
Yeah, exactly. Achieve his goals, like all of that, all the above. You don't really see a lot, even though Black Panther has done like so well, but it's still only one, out of the dozens and dozens of these movies that come out.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. And it shouldn't be the exception, right? I mean, it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be like, okay, well, it should get to the point where it's not like, okay, this is the Black superhero movie.
Yeah.
It's just another superhero movie.
Right.
And that's part of the equation. And once people see it as something that's not necessarily, I don't want to say special, but unique, but it's ordinary, then that kind of uplifts the whole conversation. But as soon as it's, this one thing, just like Shang-Chi is the one superhero,
right.
So I mean, we gotta start somewhere, though, right?
Well, I'll say this: if it's not there, it's up to us. It's up to me to do it. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Well, and everybody should be able to tell their own stories. If you wait around for other people to tell their stories about you, you're going to wait a long time. One, two, it's going to have their influence. So, there's Patrick and I talk about this all the time. There's no excuse with the technology and the ability to get things out there. Now we all came from a time before internet. So, but now, and for a while now, there's no excuse. Go out there, do it, put it out there. Be part of the answer, So.
Yeah, I'm not going to put my friend on blast, but a guy texted me last night and he's like, "Oh, I've got these stories for some books that I want to put out, right? How do I do it? How do I get published?" And I'm like, first of all, I think he's been sitting on these stories for like 15 years or something like that, maybe 20. And I just sent him a couple links like Book Baby and Fiverr. I'm like, there it is. You know what I mean? That's all you need right now. There's your key to do whatever you need to get done.
Yeah, they don't like that, do they? Though some of them, it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, so I have no excuses. Like, well, I need a publisher. You can self-publish. Oh, well, I need an artist. Well, here's a course that can teach you how to draw.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have a computer. Well, go down to the library. And you just see them get more and more dejected, right? When the truth is, they don't. everybody has an idea, right? Especially if you're an artist. Hey, I have a great idea that you could draw for me to make my dream come true, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's no excuses nowadays. I mean, we literally have access to anything we could think of right now. We've got access to it, but we still have to follow all the steps to achieve whatever our goals are. What do we ever need to do? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the Kung Fu motto right there, right? You got to eat bitter before you can eat sweet.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of martial arts, that's a great segue, Patrick. Let's talk about your martial arts and your you know how that affects you and how that affects you.
So I'm gonna give everybody my quick story. So back in the 90s when I was in college, we already talked about that. I'm in art school. There was a pay-per-view, and I saw something that probably changed my life, and it was UFC 1. That was the intro. It's like, okay, we've got karate versus taekwondo versus jiu-jitsu versus kung fu.
There was a sumo wrestler in there.
Yes,
too.
there were.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, wow, this kind of blew my mind. That was the start, because one of the people that I was following before you went to the UFC, when he was I think it was some King of the Cage, was Anderson Silva. You know, guys. So like I didn't even know about kickboxing really at that point, because kung fu's always been really popular, karate's always been really popular. You hear about like taekwondo, but I'm talking about the 90s, 80s. But if you don't really have a school or some person that's involved in that, you really wouldn't know that much about it. But when I saw just the way Anderson Silva was fighting, he was fighting mixed martial arts, but it was all Muay Thai. So just people know, Muay Thai is the art of the 8 limbs: fists, punching, 1, 2, elbows, 3, 4, knees, 5, 6, and then kicks, 7, 8. So Muay Thai is the art of the 8 limbs. And after seeing him fight, I was like, got more information about him. And then that's when I learned that he was like a really good Muay Thai fighter before he ended up doing MMA. And there's a great Muay Thai gym here in San Francisco. So at the time, it was called Fight and Fitness. So if you folks out there, any Muay Thai folks out there, you may have heard of Bunkered Fairtex or Nuxium Fairtex. These are part of the Fairtex crew, originally from Thailand. I wanted to learn, and I knew that these Nuxium, my old coaches, Nuxium and Bunkered, multiple Muay Thai champions, were in a gym in San Francisco, and I wanted to learn from the best and also authentic Muay Thai, like really authentic guys who've been there. I mean, they've been in this country like 30 years, can barely speak English, like more like real like Thai guys, fighting since they were children, that literally have hundreds of fights. So anyway, I was training with that gym. So Fight and Fitness was run by them, but also the owner was Chris Cariaso. If anyone knows Chris Cariaso, he's retired from the UFC, but he was a flyweight champion. Not flyweight champion, I'm sorry. Flyweight contender for the champion. He fought Demetrius Johnson, but he was unsuccessful at that. He also owned the gym. So at that gym, that's where I learned Muay Thai from the very beginning, from the stance to the punches to the kicks to the knees and elbows. My boxing coach, oh my God, was Paris, the Flying Lion. He was also a world boxing champ in the Bay Area in the 80s. And so I'll say this: I've been probably training for just getting probably closer to 15 years now.
That's great. That's great. Was it? Did you hit the ground running, or was there a point where it was like, oh, this is my thing. This is what I'm going to keep doing, or was it always just right from the get, just 100% in?
I started. I'll say this: I went to a couple of other gyms first. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know, for me, it's a commitment, because when I'm going to commit to something, I'm going to commit to it. Right. Yeah. And I tried a couple other Muay Thai gyms, but that environment there felt so much like family. It just felt so much like family. Like Bunkered is, oh my God, is he like 60 something? And he's still teaching classes, right? And it just felt like he's like the granddad of the crew. And then Nuxium is like straight up like balls to the wall, kicks, punch, knee, you know what I mean? Just and it was just a great camaraderie, and I just felt at home. It was no ego. People weren't all egotistic, puffing their chest out, trying to be who's better than that. It was just about people truly wanting to learn the art of Muay Thai. But there were also as well, there were fighters there, some amateurs, some pro. So it was a good environment for me to kind of soak it up and learn.
That's great. I think you touched upon something important, which is the idea of the martial arts culture, right?
Yeah.
And you hear this time and time again for a lot of people, family, right? And we're not talking family like the corporate mission statement when you started a job and they say we're family. No, there's a bond. You're putting yourself in this extreme situation that hopefully you have no reason that you really need to be across from another person that's trying to punch you in the face. But there's a weird bonding, especially I think for us fellows, right? That you get into, and you go through. It's like I heard somebody say the rite of passage is something that's removed from the modern American lifestyle. The idea of going through some type of hardship that's so intense that it alters your consciousness. And as you know, if you've ever been hit in the face really hard with a boxing glove, your consciousness gets altered one way. So you go through this, right? Like I had this similar thing. I would be sparring with my classmates, and maybe I didn't like this guy, he didn't like me. We try to knock each other's blocks off, and then later on, if something happened with another group, it's like, no, I'm the one that kicks his ass. You can't kick his ass because that's my brother. Like, I'll fight him, but you can't fight him, and it's that weird dynamic, right? And because you go through a unique experience. And if you go through it with the right leadership, like you did, it is like family. It's really, really, really special thing,
Yeah. And I mean, even the training itself can be super grueling. I don't know if you guys have ever done just like the Muay Thai training with the pads, 50 left kicks, 50 right kicks, round after round, kicks, knees, punches, push-ups, calisthenics, leg lifts. I mean, I'm literally drenched, and it will push you, because it doesn't matter if you're this level, if you're like been doing it, whatever, 20 years, and you've been doing it 2 days, it's still going to be hard. It's still going to be difficult. Just like you were saying, Curtis, just like that, going through some really difficult situation. I mean, younger folks nowadays, or just the generations, can be like some pansies because they don't know what it takes to really dig deep and push yourself to the limit. But once you do that, you end up becoming stronger, and everything else kind of gets turned down a bit. For an example, I was talking about corporate America. If I'm in a meeting and somebody looks at my work and they say they hate it, I'm like, I don't care. It's like, sound like you punched me in the face. You know what I mean? It's not, right? You kicked me really hard in the gut. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, whatever. I'm like in a position. One thing I do like about mixed martial arts is always trying to remain calm during the chaos. And that's life.
Yes.
That's life right there.
Yes, that's the struggle, right? The fight that we were talking about the other day. Do you use your martial arts every day? And being able to be that calm in the storm, right? There's a difference. People don't understand is misplaced confidence, right? Confidence isn't being boastful, isn't bragging or thinking or being delusional, right? It's seeing a situation that seems dire, but then looking within yourself and realizing that you have the fortitude to take care of that. And martial arts teaches that more than else. When you're facing somebody and you've gotten hit in the face, your eyes are watering, your nose, you're wondering what's going on with it, and you're able to sit back and not freak out and run and go, okay, I actually chose to be here. I'm paying somebody so that I can be here experiencing that. And I'm resolving to stay in this until it's done. You can take that outside to anything, right? Whether it's a portfolio review or whatever, right? And I think I think somewhere, maybe a little social commentary, but along the way, people thought that being delusional was the same thing. And it's not.
No, it's not.
It's a drastically different thing, right?
Yeah, it's definitely drastically different than that. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, but Well, I'll say this point I'm thinking about. I think there's kind of different levels because you're talking about getting hit in the face.
Yeah.
So I'll say this: there's different levels to it. So you can, let's say you're standing there. The first level is you get hit in the face, and you're like, "Oh my God, what just happened? I got hit in the face!" Right. The second level of getting hit in the face is you get angry and you want to hit immediately right back.
Mm.
And the third level is getting hit in the face is actually getting hit in the face and smiling. Because you're like, oh, okay. Oh, you hit me with that. Oh, okay. I see what that is. Okay, I'll take this. You know what I mean? But we're talking about being calm in the pocket. Oh yeah. Now I remember what I was gonna say. So I've been training for probably the last 15 years, but one of the biggest thing I've been working on probably in the last year and a half that I feel like I'm getting so much better at is honestly breathing. Just like something as simple as that. And it goes back to what we were just talking about, Curtis, how all the chaos is going on. So if you're, sparring or something or in a fight, right? You're there, somebody's breathing, they want to knock your head off. It's all this adrenaline going and stuff like that. So the person that can be the most calmest during all that stuff is the person that can see the opening, the person can move at the right time, the person can see what the other person is doing and have a counter to that. So just going back to what I said, when you're breathing and focusing on your breathing, because after you do martial arts, at least for me, you end up having muscle memory. Like your body kind of knows what to do, but it's more about controlling your mind so that you don't get emotional, don't jump on a feint. People don't know what I'm talking about. Somebody fakes like they're going to do something. You don't overreact, and just being in the moment. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Just being completely in the moment, relax, no matter what life throws at you. To me, that's the biggest piece of martial arts and how it helps me in life in general.
Totally. If I can give a brief anecdote with that, like one of the most important things that I ever learned from my teacher was, keep your hands up, right? Of course. Well, I was sparring. You ever spar people and you see they go in that survival mode where they're not used to sparring and the crazy eye happens and then they have to kind of take your head off, right?
Yes.
So I used to have that. I would panic and get freaked out and just go crazy, right? And that was always an issue because it's fear. And I remember one time my Sifu paired me up with my junior classmate. And by that point, I had done it a while, so I was calm. And I saw him get that crazy look that the switch went on. So I said, okay, well, he's not as good as me. I'll go easy on him. But I had a habit of keeping my hands down. So he's throwing bombs, just cracking my face side to side. But instead of panicking, because you can't fix that habit in the middle of a fight, right? So, but I kind of calmly, after I take a couple hits, I said, well, I can't go easy on him. I got to just take him out so this is over with because I also can't eat punches. So I just kind of, hit him on the bridge of the nose just to kind of water the eyes and end the whole thing. And I walked away and I was so upset because I took so many hits in the face and technically it was a really poor performance. But my teacher, Kung Fu master that he is, I was shocked. He came over to me. And as I walked away, he put his hand on my shoulder and tapped me like he was so proud of me. And all he said was, he goes, "You're not scared anymore." And then just walked away. And that was the lesson. It's like in time, these will come up. In time, everything will get resolved. But to get over that fear, that's the answer, right? And that's the hardest part. I mean, that's really hard. And it's a constant battle, right? It never ends. But to not be afraid, I mean, look at what you're doing with your project. I mean, of course there's doubt. Of course there's fear that this may succeed or not. But you're able to look within yourself and go, you know what? I see all that and I'm going to move forward. And look what you're accomplishing. I mean, that's tremendous and not easy,
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that. And it's funny though, I see that when you're just explaining the fear scenario, I see it a lot. And I'm just telling you from my personal experience through a lot of my opponents, because they think of my stature that I'm going to take their head off. And it's happened to me a lot it's not even a career, in training, that when I spar with people, usually they go twice as hard is how I go. And I'll say this, in the last couple years, just going back to that staying calm in the pocket, I've really learned how to I don't know. It's kind of like the drunken kung fu style where someone's throwing everything they got at you, but you're just kind of moving out the way, like slyly, just kind of hitting, you know, like, and then if they're really like that, they'll tire themselves out because they're throwing everything with 100%. And if you throw something 100%, folks, and you miss, oh my God, it takes a lot out of you, and just being nervous just takes a lot out of you. So I always try to approach like all of my just sparring sessions. I'll just say that with a lot of tact and a lot of like grace, and I'll take a shot. You know what I mean? I'll take a shot because they're gonna learn something like, oh, that actually worked. But if you get too crazy, then I got to punch you in the stomach. You know what I mean?
Well, you have to
really hard.
You have to tax them, right? At some point, the teachable moment goes up to here, right?
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to bring it here. You're trying to bring it here. I'm trying to bring it there. Be like, oh, I'm like, oh, you like that? Yeah.
Well, I have seen you've posted a couple of your sparring. I don't know, maybe sparring sessions, training sessions fun online.
Stuff. Yeah, just
nice.
Yeah, just fun stuff. But I mean, I learned a lot. And then a quick plug to my new gym. It's California Martial Athletics. These are Dave and Joe. These are two guys from Philly, and they were also training under the same instructors that I was training, the Thai instructors. They've been training for even longer than I am, even though they're younger than I am. And the gym that we have, California Martial Athletics, is a great gym. I mean, one of the should I say, yeah, she's a girl. She's 17 years old. 17 years old, national world champion, Muay Thai.
Wow.
Yeah, really good. She's got like a couple belts and a gold medal now. She's only 17 years old. Quick shout out to Somo. You know, she's a girl. You know, you're doing your thing, girl. But it's fun for me because I'm an older guy. I told you I graduated college in like mid-90s or whatever, so you can do the math or whatever. But I think it's good to train with young people when you get older, just because it kind of keeps you on point. We're not trying to take each other's head off. We're trying to just learn, get better, work on things that are more difficult. And one thing that I do like about the way they train, and specifically sparring, we don't go hard. We go like 30%, you know what I'm saying? It may pick it up to 50 to 75, but we don't go hard because what happens is when you go really hard, you start to be flinchy. You know what I mean? You're flinchy. You're scared of doing new things because you know you're going to get caught with something. So what you end up doing is doing the same things over and over because they work. But if you're sparring against someone and you're not going that hard, you can make a mistake. You know what I'm saying? You can try out some new things, try out something new. And if you mess up and get caught, you're not going to get cracked and, have a bloody nose or something like that. So that's one thing I do really like about this specific gym. And I mean, in sparring in general, because at the end of the day, everyone can punch hard, right? But do you have control? And if you have, anybody can punch hard, but having that control is way more important.
Definitely. Like we talk about, it's control over yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's about. Where can people, is this located in the Bay Area? Where's this gym at? So that people, if they're interested, they can.
Yeah. So California Martial Athletics is in San Francisco. I'm all pulling up while I'm talking. It's San Francisco. California Martial Athletics is on Polk Street in San Francisco. Come check it out, or just look up CMASF, California Martial Athletics, San Francisco. Just look it up. You can pull it up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can definitely pull it up. Anybody out there, and if you want to learn some like authentic Muay Thai, come through and check us out. We've got young people. We've got kids classes. We've got a lot of ladies in there as well. We've got guys and it's a very diverse crew of different people. And it's fun. It's like, that's my second family. I mean, I don't even think I could have done as much in the art world without having the Muay Thai that I'm doing. And just FYI, I'm going there like 4 days a week still. 2 days boxing, 2 days Muay Thai. Well, it's more like 2 days boxing, 1 day Muay Thai, and then 1 day sparring with boxing and sparring Muay Thai, and it just keeps me sharp. And it's a one. This is what I explain. People say, "Oh yeah, why do you do Muay Thai?" You know, everybody can have a difficult day. We have family, we have friends, we have jobs, you know, you have kids, you know, you get that parking ticket, or, you know, whatever is going on in your life, you will have some days where you just are frustrated with whatever's going on in your life. I literally go into the gym frustrated, go through a really hard, difficult session with my bros and my sisters and my folks, you know what I mean? Drenching sweat. I walk out, I'm like, I was mad about something. What was I? Yeah. I was upset. It doesn't matter. It's not important. It must not be important. And it's like a reset for me. It just resets me every time I go there.
That's great. That's excellent.
Spoken like a true martial arts master.
Yes.
Try.
Definitely. Well, you know, I think we're kind of winding down here, but it's such a pleasure talking with you about your art, your background, your martial arts, and really at the end of the day, there is no difference, you know, because it's all you, right? So just an absolute pleasure, and can't wait to see more of your work.
Yeah, thank you so much, Curtis, Patrick. Thank you for reaching out to me.
You're welcome.
Just to let everybody know, if you'd like to check out any of the books, go to consciousculturepublishing.com. You can order books there off Amazon, as well as follow me on Instagram at Conscious Culture Publishing. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and just to let you know again, my name is Marlon McKenney. You can also do at Marlon McKenney. Come check out my work, check out some books, and yeah, see you on social media, folks.
All right, sounds good.
Excellent. Well, this was great. Thank you so much for being a part of this, Marlon.
I appreciate it. You guys have a good one. Thank you so much.
Take care. Have a good day.
Take care.
All right, that was awesome. Well, I guess we should finish up as we normally do.
Yes. Yeah. So without further ado, we have some more in the works for you, but we'll get to that next time. So let me just wish you all excellence.
Hi, I'm Plugo, author, illustrator, comic creator, and the art director for Kung Fu Magazine for more than 20 years. But I'm here to talk to you about a project that's really special to me. It's the middle grade graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale. Imagine the story of tigers and dragons and martial artists and monsters. So when I launched the campaign for A Tiger's Tale Volume 1, I did not know what to expect. But it succeeded thanks to a group of passionate backers. It was also awarded the Make More Comics art grant that year and was later featured as part of an art gallery exhibit. And that's why I'm coming to Kickstarter, to cover production fees, printing, copy editing, things like that. Books completed, with the exception of a few pages I've set aside for color over the course of the campaign. This turned out to be a popular feature of Volume 1's campaign, so I thought I'd bring it back for Volume 2. I think it's going to be great fun for everyone. Hope you'll support the campaign. I'm very excited about it. Thanks for stopping by.
As a kid, I loved Kung Fu movies. So I went to Chinatown, trained with a wise teacher, and became a Kung Fu master. Sounds simple, right? Not really. My journey, like the study of Kung Fu, was as arduous as it was rewarding. filled with as many secrets as revelations and as much heartache as triumph. It's a defining moment in my life, and while I began studying Kung Fu to learn how to fight, what I discovered was a way to live. Martial arts never came easy to me. I was far from talented and even farther from being the chosen one. It was only through years of tenacious perseverance that I was able to make steady progress. And so, I was surprised when my master told me that I should teach Kung Fu and share the art outside of Chinatown. I did just that and taught Kung Fu to my own students for 20 years. I always wanted to do more to share the art of Kung Fu with others, but was limited by only being able to teach those within my immediate area. What about the rest of the world? Then one day, I had one of the deepest insights about Kung Fu. I realized that the punches, kicks, throws, and myriad of martial maneuvers are merely the delivery system for the true essence of Kung Fu, the philosophy and way of life. Having worked for years as a professional artist and storyteller in film, animation, video games, and comic books, I realized that I could draw upon this unique skill set to share my passion for Kung Fu with the greater world. And so I created Shadow Ghost, a Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. The first issue is created entirely by myself, from story and art to colors and lettering. Every panel is filled with unprecedented accuracy in its depiction of Kung Fu by a comic book creator who knows from first-hand experience what it means to be a Kung Fu master. Shadow Ghost is a martial arts coming-of-age story about a young man whose search for the truth about a legendary hero leads him to study Kung Fu, and through a twist of fate, becomes part of the legend himself. For the first time in comic book history, you can immerse yourself further in each issue with Kung Fu Skills technology, powered by Tiger Crane Kung Fu. Scan the QR code at the back of the comic and follow an exclusive link to an online instructional video where I teach you Kung Fu techniques featured in this series. With Kung Fu Skills technology, you can do more than just read about the Shadow Ghost saga. You can become a part of it. The first issue is completely finished and ready for print. All that's needed is for you to make a pledge of support so that we can fund the printing of the first issue. Together, we can share the wisdom of Kung Fu with the greater world. Shadow Ghost is the story of Kung Fu. It's about the people, the art, the culture, and the philosophy. It's my story and the story of those that I've learned from, taught, fought, and loved. Join me and become part of the vibrant legacy in a place and time where we might not be the chosen one, but where we can make a choice to be part of something bigger and greater than just ourselves. I'm Sifu Curtis Fujita, and this is Shadow Ghost, the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master.